letting and estate agents who talk too much. Today I'm joined by Keith Allen, who is a letting agent from Essex, but also trains and coaches a number of letting agents around the UK. Keith, do letting and estate agents talk too much? Talk to me.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Chris. So yeah, absolutely. A good friend of mine always says, we've got two of these and one of these for a reason. So when we talk too much, we miss out on golden nuggets, especially when obviously the client wants to talk and express themselves and tell us what we need to know. So yeah, in a client conversation, ideally, the client should be talking 80% of the time. Because the more questions we ask and the more answers they give us, we can learn what they really need and desire.
Well, I'm a firm believer that people would judge you on the questions you ask, not on the statements you make.
Yeah.
And that comes from, as you say, you ask the question and then let the person speak.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of estate and letting agents talk too much because they love the sound of their own voice, or they don't want to ask? Very good at making statements, but not very good at questions, because questions will elicit a reply which you listen to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm not really sure. I think it might be just habit. Most people are terrible listeners. I certainly was, going back a few years, maybe 10, 20 years. Listening is a skill that needs to be developed.
How did you learn how to listen better?
Because I needed to sell more, or to let more, or to manage more.
So you decided to expand your knowledge and your personal development. Did some training and development, and you learned how to listen better. Have you got some top tips for someone watching this video on how to listen?
Yeah, well, the best way of doing it is to actually, what do people love doing? Talking about themselves. So when I meet a landlord, I'm actually genuinely interested in their story. So it might be their family life, their home life, their work, their hobbies, their sports, their interests.
How can you be genuinely interested if you're not genuinely interested? Or do you have to make yourself genuinely interested?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I think many people go into estate agency and letting agency because they think they like property. You don't need to like property. Everybody likes the aesthetics of a beautiful house or apartment. You really need to be a people person. You need to like people. And one of the things that I kind of developed, because I would meet landlords who I didn't really gel with, maybe didn't like, but you've got to find a way of getting under their skin and understanding the reason and the way they are, the reason they are the way they are. And that makes it enjoyable, because we're all human and we've all got the same human needs.
To be loved and recognized and what was the word?
To be understood.
To be understood.
Validated and understood.
You see, it's interesting. The reason I do these interviews is the topics are almost irrelevant. I don't care. You can confirm you set the topics.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't set the topics because I do not care about the topics. What I do care about is talking to interesting people about topics that they're interested in.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah.
And so if you wanted to come and talk about tractors, if you wanted to, then but if I wanted to talk about what I was interested in, I'd genuinely talk about my wife, my late dog, collecting medals and train timetables.
Yeah.
Just not.
Yeah.
The train goes through Grantham, I can tell you what time it left London, or where it's come from.
Fantastic.
Or where it's going.
Yeah.
I'll bore you to death on it.
No, brilliant.
No. But that's the point, is this. And I think what a lot of letting and estate agents should do is, if you could be genuinely interested in the person and what makes them tick, just as another fellow human being, it's irrelevant that you're a letting or an estate agent.
Yeah.
But you said in a previous video is if you can get them to understand you, you're 80% of the way to getting the listing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's personal stories that connect.
Expand a bit more on that. What do you mean by that?
If you're talking to a client, in reality, what they want to get out of it might be selling their property or letting their property, actually is secondary to the communication.
Well, people come to you because they want to move on to their next chapter of their life.
Yeah.
The transaction is getting the house sold or let.
Yeah, but what if in that communication they meet someone who they get on well with, they trust, they like, and they feel like they know them because there's a genuine empathy.
Well, that's how all human relationships work. First they know you, then they like you, then they trust you. And people only tend to do business with people they trust.
Right, and I guarantee you the top estate agents and the top letting agents are all using that 80% of psychology and relationships, many of them naturally. But that will be the reason that they're outselling everybody else. It won't be because they know the transaction or they know the most market knowledge. It's that psychology part that they're using.
Can someone learn this?
100%. But you have to get over the fact of sales, that label, the word sales. Sales just means communicating well and understanding people.
And getting over the baggage of whether you win the listing or not. I know we talked about that in a previous video.
I love this saying, be the best rather than the biggest. So if you aim to be the best, if you strive to be the best agent in your town, that will draw the clients in and you'll get the transactions anyway. You know, you won't be losing transactions. And of course, there's other things that go with that. Be really interested, genuinely curious, courteously honest, all these other little bits that fit with it. But yeah, I honestly believe if you strive to be the best, you don't need to be the biggest agency or the biggest operator. People will be drawn to you purely because of your mission.
Keith, exceptional. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.